Virginia, I just wanted to discuss with you my ULearn presentation coming up.
Right.
And basically my focus is on a new area, or reasonably new area, called hyperconnectivity, which is about groups of people making connections.
Right.
Now, where I'm at now with this is that I think, I thought that my thinking about hyperconnectivity was a relational with Solo because I use a lot of online community tools and I could make links between them.
Right.
However, when I started to put together what I know, I realised that I'm actually at multistructural because I can identify the tools, but where I'm at now is how can I make the connections between the tools and clarify my own thinking.
Okay, so you've got the links,
Yeah.
but you actually haven't linked them through. Yeah. All right.
So here, of my first page on my wiki space is I've started to put together what it means.
Right.
But I know that as I keep working with it, that definition evolves.
Okay, so can I just go back one step? Yeah. So the purpose of this particular, your presentation for the ULearn is to talk about or share your thinking around hyperconnectivity.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, and to give examples.
And give examples, okay. So the first thing you've done here on your wiki space is defined it.
Yes.
What hyperconnectivity is.
Yes.
All right. So explain to me what hyperconnectivity is.
It's when there's a group of communities that come together and make connections between them.
Using tools?
Using tools.
So
using
you're talking
communication tools.
Okay, in terms of electronic tools?
In terms of electronic tools. That was my first thinking. That was my first. But as I keep working, I realise that communities don't just have to be online.
Yeah.
They're also down here. And a classic one is the current Solo community that we now belong to.
Yes.
Which, following on from our ICTPD,
yes.
that we're still working together with our learning so that the three schools.
Yeah, and that's, okay. So, for you to move to relational, because you're saying you're multistructural, what do you need to do?
That's where this conversation is. I can't see it.
Okay, explain to me then, on this wiki space, you've got the definition. From your definition, what do you do?
Okay, from my definition, I thought that my next step is to identify what the key vocabulary would be of the different areas of hyperconnectivity. For example, looking at...
okay, I'll stop you there.
Yeah.
Only because I want you to explain to me first, because you talked about being multi-structural, but although you thought you were relational, can you show me a rubrics that explain how you've defined each area? Okay,
I've just started that now. Good thinking, and here it is here.
Okay, so you're saying that unistructural or pre-structural, you have no idea what hyperconnectivity is. Unistructural is bringing one idea. So when you're talking about bringing in one idea, are you talking about being able to list?
About what it is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so see, that's interesting because you use the word bringing in.
Okay, what does that...
Do you see what I'm saying? So you're talking about bringing in what though?
One idea about what hyperconnectivity is.
So it's probably being able to explain, isn't it? Or to... do you see what I'm saying?
Yes,
so even
explaining.
identifying one idea to do with hyperconnectivity.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? One idea that's got to do with it. And you know how that whole thing, when we originally started the whole solo, it was to do with the relevance of it.
Yes.
So one idea could be any idea.
Right.
You see, but is it, when you talk about hyperconnectivity, this is where I'm talking about that definition you're talking about. Yes. Are you defining it as, we just said, is it only to do with the technology side of things, or are we talking about
facets of it?
Any facet. Even with the hyperconnectivity, even like this, oral sort of discussion.
Yes, which is...
Do you see what I'm saying? So maybe even when you talk about this here, is giving that example might be quite good too. So you've got here, so what was this column
so
here?
here, because when I was starting, is that these would be the, like where it happens, but you're right, I haven't even got
an example.
I've got, for example, a class speech, which is a single, when you're only doing one thing, or a single classroom working on its own, or a teacher working by themselves.
Okay, so probably that's what you need to clarify for starters, because even me looking at that, I have to question it because I'm not quite sure where you're getting.
Okay.
Or which angle you're going from. So for me, because I understand what you're saying now that you've explained it to me, because you're saying that someone delivering to everyone else is a form of communication or connecting with others, correct?
Yes.
Okay. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that though.
No, it doesn't, and that's what I'm learning as I'm working more with it. Yeah, okay.
So for me, I would probably expand on this, because if you're going to use this to explain to others, then it needs to be pretty crystal clear and quite specific.
Right.
So they can see exactly what you're talking about. Although you're saying bring in one idea, make it a bit more transparent is probably what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Because even you just talking now, like you and me talking, that would be
exactly.
That would be
one form.
One form of it, right?
So you talked about because probably the angle that you've looked at is probably more the technology side of things, which is why you thought, which you've now reflected on and realised that is more the multistructural.
Yes.
Because there's
it's
much
only one
wider
part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, much wider. And if you look at the stems that go from there, it is much bigger.
So if you. So that's
and
possibly work through that.
Yeah, I would probably work through this as your first step and go through, maybe put an example like we just talked about, and even possibly just like we do with the rubrics, is to maybe put in those linking words or the vocab that's associated to it.
Okay, peer discussion. I'm just writing something here.
Sure.
And if that makes much sense. And the words, the solo verbs,
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I'll just write that there. So for my...
Yeah, does that...
It does, it does.
And then I see that you have got an example, what you were going to do in terms of an example, is that right?
Yes, I have. Like, for example...
so explain to me what you mean by draft in a book.
That's one form of communication.
Oh, okay.
So that's your very first level, or a teacher with an idea.
Yes.
Nothing's going to happen to that idea until she
discussed
it.
Yeah.
Or so it's just where it's either a static form of communication or one that starts to make links within the different nodes and gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
That's right.
Depends on how you go through.
Yeah.
So I'll keep working on that, but that makes much more sense now. And the second part is that as I'm talking with you now, more vocabulary is coming to mind.
Right.
Because you're talking about the vocabulary, so I should also be working on my vocabulary here, my solo vocabulary, because if you look at my list I've created here, there's absolutely no solo words. So I'll go back and I'll start to put these into some kind of an order in my head.
Yeah, and I would probably, as you've got this vocab here, I would break it down into the levels again within that rubric about where you would see some of this vocab. I mean, some of it will merge.
Yes.
And be, move from one thing to the next, and it might be sort of in between, or you could use it between the two levels.
Yeah.
However, the other thing too will be for someone who is completely knowing, I wouldn't know what half of these meant.
Yes.
So I don't know when you go to whether this is something that you give a definition to, or because that could be another step too, because in terms of me going into it and I think, actually I'm interested in this hyperconnectivity, but what the heck does e-citizenship mean? I mean, I know what the E stands for, but really your definition and my definition might be quite different, but there must be some sort of medium where there is...
We'd come together.
Yeah.
Because even then, speaking with you now, is I know it's citizenship full stop. It's not just what's up in the sky.
Yeah.
And that's something we've learnt with Super Club Plus. It's not what happens up there is actually even.
But I even don't know what the word junction means in that term.
Okay, a junction is...
meeting?
It's like my portfolios when a whole pile of things come together.
Yeah, but see, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But if I came to your, I'm just saying, came to your presentation, I'm thinking, sitting there thinking, oh, you're talking about junction, oh, God, I'm going to have to go and find that out. But if there was a section where you've got this vocab here, an explanation of it, just like in a glossary or whatever it may be, I think that would be really good.
Okay, and things like digital pencils, which is my...
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you know, because you are talking about going into the future, things that people haven't actually come across or are not aware of, this is perfect opportunity for them to learn.
Okay.
I think you've got some, you know, some really good things here.
Yeah.
I mean, I know who Vygotsky is.
Yes.
But then, how many people do?
Yes. I'm still debating that one.
Yeah.
But
it depends on how much you use or where you use this vocab.
True. Right.
And how important is it? And is it relating specifically to this? Unless it's a sideline.
It will be a sideline.
Yeah, see what I mean? So is it a reference?
It will be a reference.
Yeah, so it might be somewhere where you think that possibly that doesn't fit in within that structure. It needs to be elsewhere. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. So if I look at the different parts of it, is... So what I'm also just even discussing with you is that I know that when I'm working with this, I still keep thinking up in the sky. But the more I work with it, the more I realise it's bigger than that.
Yeah, and the thing is, you've got to come down to this level here, get your baseline first, and get that really tight, and then move from there. Because until people realise where it's come from and the base of it, well, you know, like the heart of it really, they won't understand that next stage.
Yes.
And it's kind of like in anything where you scaffold that learning. So this will be the same. I mean, this is a big thing, this hyperconnectivity.
Well, it is. The interesting thing too is that when I began it, I thought, oh, this is something quite new. And when I talked with Pam, for example, online, she gave me back to references to the 1700s where it was happening.
Yeah, but no one, we haven't used it in that context though either.
It is, but it's about that connection, and it doesn't matter what medium you're using, it's about making connections with others, which is about the collaboration.
Yeah, so whether it's in pencil form, paper form, verbal, whether it be cloud in the sky, is it through internet, through the, whatever it may be, obviously there are, but it's how people actually perceive that. But you're right, I mean, Pam's right, obviously we've been using it for years, but we haven't actually sort of acknowledged it probably and give it a term as such as this. Is that the sort of feedback you're wanting?
Yes, I am.
Is that what you're thinking? Because, and I'm probably looking at it from an outside point of view.
Which is what I need. I need, because I know what I mean.
Yes, and see, but I don't. And so for me it would be clarification here.
Yes. And
probably a bit more like the definitions of understanding what those terms meant, the vocab building for me, and sort of understanding those levels of thinking in terms of the solo.
And I should be, because when I began it, I also began with the product rather than the rubric. And so I've got to go back to my rubric.
And that's why I asked you straight away.
And keep revisiting my rubric. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that all? That's good.
You're welcome. So your next step is, what are you going to go and do?
To do more reflection.
I think you've done lots of reflection, because I think that the thing is this, and you've already acknowledged you knew that something wasn't quite right because you've already been thinking about it for you to actually say something and show me this. I mean, to share, I think what you've done, I think is fantastic. But it's not until you reflect on it, which is what you've done, and thought, hang on, it's not where I think it should be, that, you know, until someone actually sees and gives you feedback, then you think, yeah, I've missed that step. Because I think sometimes we go too quickly thinking, that, like you said, the end product, here it is.
Which I'm classic for that.
Oh, but I think we all are.
Yes,
we all are, because we just want to get to that end product. But it's the in-betweens.
It's the process.
Yeah, it is.
The process of thinking.
Yeah. Okay. So what are you going to go away and do?
I'll go back and I'll rework my rubric.
Okay.
And I will identify... probably at this stage, I'll probably identify which area, which map I could be focusing in on. I thought initially it would be a described map, but it's bigger than that as well. I probably would go straight to an extended abstract map and work from that.
Like a generalisation?
Probably a generalisation.
I mean, I don't think there's any harm in starting with that describe, because that might give you your basis for, again, moving to that next section, because it will identify all the things.
Which I've done.
Yeah. But maybe by mapping it out like that, it will then give you your other avenues that you need to go down.
Yes.
But if you want me to, I'm more than happy to look at the rubrics again.
Okay.
And once you've worked on it.
Okay, I'll probably, because at this stage the wiki space is locked down.
Okay.
So I'll give you access, read and write access.
Okay.
So expect that email from me.
Okay, sure.
Okay, thank you, Virginia.
You're welcome.